Now, welcome back everybody to another evening of live web development or game development with Godot. And tonight I'm working on some of the feedback I've gotten from players of the game related to attacks and speed and stuff. But first I want to show off some of the stuff we've been working on for the past week or so. And we'll go right into that. Let me close this stuff down here. So if you guys have managed to get, I want to actually post this up again here. I want to post up a link to the build, the latest. I know the last announcement I had was a 0.35, but I actually posted up a 0.36 without a development update, without a development blog update. Mostly because it's a fix for some small bugs that I saw. But if you can, feel free to head over to the page here, get the latest build. Should be right here. Download it, play it, let me know what you guys think, and we'll be taking any of the feedback you guys have and working them into the videos and working on how to polish the game up as we move along here. So I'm going to go ahead and show off the stuff that my buddy Alan was working on a couple weeks ago related to the post-process effects for the environment. And I watched a video recently from, what is this guy's Fine Point CGI's video about level design, and took into account some of his ideas in that level design video about making the differentiation between big and small spaces more dramatic, and they're more impactful. So taking that into account, I made some. We took these post-process effects. I also made some adjustments to the level layouts and some of these chunks. And going forward, I'm going to start making some chunks that are drastically different in their size of combat areas, so that it's going to be more interesting to move between the several groups of them. Let me go ahead and move this. There we go. Okay. So I'll go show off what we've got here with the 3 key boss level here to give you an idea of what these post-process effects look like. You can see when you go inside of a building, there's going to be a vignette on the outside edges of this thing that kind of restricts your movement, makes the place look a little more claustrophobic. And then when you exit from that place, it'll remove the vignette and add whatever weather effects to it. You can see it's pretty obvious between these two. We're gonna do some better fading on the rain and stuff, because I think that's a little jarring to move back and forth between them. But that's the biggest chunk of this. You just notice that we've got these new visual effects that are be changeable based on the specific tiles that we've marked up in level. And let's go ahead and I can show you again. This, you'll see how the transition happens in between. I actually blocked myself in this room when we kill these dudes off. You can see once I kill this last dude. Okay. Yeah, and that's essentially it. I've made several. There's different markup maps that have been used for different interior types. Like this room and this room are technically different interior types at the moment, but there's no visual effects to represent that right now. But that'll be on the agenda to add more variations of these interiors. Give you a better idea of different atmospheres in different rooms. Like, for example, if I can find one of these sewers, let's find if I can entrance to a sewer. You can see that I've paused all of the enemies' AI, and I'm only spawning bats right now, because I'm going to be going into some of the feedback I got through from playtesters about aiming with most of the range weapons. You can see how great this room looks like with how dark it is. I've only got the one light in the upper corner, but I really like this effect in this room where the blacks are not quite crushed to black, but they're almost hidden entirely past the fog. And so you can imagine that we'd have different interiors for these closed spaces, like the sewers, that will really set them apart. Let me go ahead and close it down and go over what we're going to be going over tonight, which is, let's see, close this down. Find my live stream. Okay. Okay, I think we're live. Take a look at the chart here. That's okay. So tonight we're going to be going over a couple of updates to the aiming and aim assist system, and I've been kind of pushing off making adjustments to it because it was kind of working good enough in the previous builds, and that if you were using a ranged weapon, it would do a pretty good job of locking onto targets and hitting them. But there's always these weird corner cases that occur where the aim assist would pick a target that's valid during its physics update loop, and then when it was finally ready to fire, it would run the check again, and it would fail, giving you a weird target. And I'll show you what that kind of looks like here. So this is the directional aim assist that I've got, and I actually rebuilt part of it earlier today to kind of to break it into pieces. So you can see down below I've got my current aim position, and then you've got the current aim assist target in the printouts down below. And so what this does is it calculates the enemies in the number of tiles away from the player. Then it determines if the enemy is in front or within a certain angle of the player. And right now that angle I believe is 15 degrees. And then it says, okay, if you're within that 15 degree and you're also the nearest one to my target center, like you can see that if I get between these two guys, this guy is clearly the nearest, but if I keep moving my joystick and get sort of in between the two, it'll sort of pick the closer one. It's basically picking the target center of the nearest one. Now it's centering them on their foot position, which is probably not what I want to do. I probably want to center it on the actor so that it reads a little better, because you don't want to be aiming at people's feet. It just looks it feels kind of weird. And so I don't really like how this snaps me. It kind of looks weird. I don't like the feel of moving between these, because then you don't really have an idea of how much further you need to move to snap to the other target, and also just it doesn't feel very good when you're in a combat. And I know Hades does the snap thing, but the way that they handle their combat is they have a lot. It's more about sending out as many projectiles as possible than it is about precision shots. And I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to give you more of a free aim system, but provide the player information about the target that he's currently going to hit should he release at whatever angle. So instead of just snapping him, I want to provide him additional information based on his angle of aim to what his projectile is going to ultimately go to. Now, whether that's going to look weird because when you release the attack, it'll have to rotate the bow, or the bow will fire an arrow at an odd angle. And so that's one piece of this. And maybe that ultimately is a bad idea. Maybe this is still the best way to handle it. I do wish there was a better way to handle it, so it was more of a targeting assist than an aim lock, where it would slow down your input in the wider band. And I saw a video on how to do. Saw a video exploring the potential of how to do something like this, but I couldn't figure out the math. So I'm going to start with just polishing what I have and breaking it into pieces that are more digestible. And then the second piece I wanted to do, in addition to getting the lock-on position for these enemies, I want to make a system that tells you when you're able to fire. Because if you try any of these charged weapons, there is a amount of charge that is required minimum to be able to fire a successful shot. And that's intended. We do want players to have to pull back the bow a specific amount of time before the attack goes off and is successful. But we don't have any good way to visualize that right now. There is great visuals on that for some of the charge weapons. So if you take a look, let's go to survival here. Okay. Let me make it large, what I wanted to do. Okay. So if you look at the special on the hammer, there is that charge stencil. And if you were to release the attack before the stencil has completed and gone to its position, it fails. So that works out okay. It's funny, since I changed this aim system, I have to add the particular aim type to all these other weapons because it doesn't have it. It's just going to set it to the angle of 0, which is not what we want. So I want to do something like that for the bow. And unfortunately, the way that the stencils were written originally is there's one per ability, and it's not necessarily easy to make adjustments to. So I want to do that as well, and I want to make something more universal for it. Whether that's doing what the hammer does, where it goes over the charge, or if I need to make something different that's unique for each charged weapon. And then the second part that I wanted to do, if I get to it this evening, is I wanted to address a problem with any of the weapons that are supposed to be fired in a targeted area. And the problem with these ones is the original plan for these is kind of working as intended. It limits you to where you can aim. It moves based on the previous position of the cursor that you've got, as opposed to just snapping around the player. Now the problem with that is it has a move speed, but it doesn't really take into effect any kind of enemies or desired input or interpretations of where you should be aiming. So for example, if I'm running from these guys, often you'll press the button and it will immediately target as far out on one side as possible, but it takes a very long time for you to move the cursor from the far end to this end in order to hit the target behind you. So you're running this way, you press the button. It looks like it kept it that time. Looks like it's keeping the old cursor position. But I think what the original intention before I ended up breaking it was it auto targets based on your current aim position, not your last. It didn't remember your last fired position. So there's a couple of ways I can solve this problem. Is I can either add acceleration to this thing so that if I'm holding it in a direction for long enough, it will accelerate towards that direction, which is kind of something I did with, if you look at, let's go to the settings, like these sliders here, they have acceleration on them that if you were to hold down the button in one direction long enough, it accelerates towards the other end faster than if you were just to press it once or just for a couple seconds here. The only problem with doing something like that is that it's not target sensitive, so it doesn't really have an idea of where around this target could be, if that's a good spot. I also don't want it to snap to these guys, because like a lot of the abilities I've got, they have there is some skill shot with the lead time of the target. So I don't want it to be exactly like the bow attack, which is essentially a ray cast. It's instantaneous. So that's the other half. But we'll start with getting the stencils on the bow that I need, and taking a look at how the old aim assist works, and see if I can't figure out a better way to do the targeting assist. Okay, so I broke all of this stuff used to exist in a class called the skill component. And what it ended up doing is the skill component was holding all of the information for all the inputs of the character's weapon loadout. It filtered the inputs, processed them, it held on to queued inputs, and then it would kind of run through these inputs in a regular process loop and set up which strike it was going to use. And what it would also do is this: it would update the active strike, and it would update the update the stencil. That should be here. So I have this function called update active strike location, and this is whenever you see an ability in the game that updates the aim location in real time. And the reason that it's running in the physics process is that it has to do several raycast checks in order to determine if the thing can move to the location that it's trying to get to. So I'll go through the old way I ended up doing this, and then we'll go through the new system. So the old function used to get my input. I got the one movement stick, and it would modify this vector 2, which is basically we ended up calling it skill aim position, and that's basically a vector 2 that's based off the location of the character. It's based off of the distance from the character. So you're thinking about going to the left of the character, it's like -1, 0, and to the right of the character is +1, 0. And then I ended up converting this in this local position into a world position. And what it would do is it would take this, it would update it first. So I get the input and I would modify it by this strike density, the aim sensitivity. So let's take a look at the alchemy bomb. So the alchemy bomb has an aim sensitivity in here of 320, which means that it's pretty sensitive. If I were to crank that guy up and run this, now this thing moves pretty quick. It zips around, and maybe part of this thing is just making sure the sensitivity works right. You can see it will do. It looks like it's catching on some. Okay, so it moves to the location, and once it's moved to the location, it does several little checks. Let me close this guy. So once it's moved to the location, it now does a clamp based on its minimum and maximum distance. So strike min and max distance for here. And then it would take those clamped values and then it applies it again. So it adjusted it here and then it applied it, kind of reset it after it applied the clamps, which is fine, but not the best way to handle something like this. If you wanted to, I'm probably going to change it so that I apply the clamps before I make any adjustments to this thing. So some sort of temp number up here. And then it would do these tests. So some of my abilities, so the start test position is where the test starts from. Some of my abilities start from the player's upper body, which is like his where the bow and arrow comes from, where it's shot, and some of them come from the feet. And so the alchemy bomb, I believe, aims from the feet, and that's set up over here. So strike origin comes from the feet. So it does all of its checks to where it can be fired from the feet and to the feet. And that's useful for anything that I've got to when I mark up the level for things, and when I mark up aim assist and targeting, all these checks that need to happen. This is done. I've gotten rid of that. I used to do these things by stencil type, which I've now abstracted out, and now I have an aim type. I'll have to go through and add aim type to all my other stuff. So basically, it was always moving this thing around and clamping it, which is kind of like moving a mouse cursor around and clamping it, as opposed to getting the angle of the inputs and then kind of setting a vector direction, which is what I'm going to move to and split these two out now. So one's going to be this kind of cursor type position, and one's going to be this analog stick position. So this one is still the cursor type, and what I used to do is I would just move them very fast. So the aim sensitivity on something like the bow and arrow would be very fast. So the cursor would move very quickly across from left and right, so it would be almost instantaneous. So it's almost like it was updating the angle. And then from there, I would do raycast tests. So it would test out to a location, and if it could not hit that location, it would back the thing up and continuously do these raycast tests by a certain amount. So it's kind of similar to how, I think what probably needs to happen is this raycast test could be converted into something like a sphere test. And then, actually, I think I might have actually had, so this is actually one of the test types, which is just a sphere test or a capsule test at the location. And if it could hit the location, it would back up and then do the test again. And so that's what this does, is it just waits for the final point, loops through, and then returns it. So you can see something like this alchemy bomb, it would clamp it. So you can see as I move this thing across, it will kind of stagger a little bit because it's trying to find the most valid point that's closest to me. Or furthest from me, technically. And then what this would do is it would check to see if there is a landing zone. So it's negating the tiles where the chests are. But it also kind of jumps around a little bit because you see, it's obviously making checks and backing up and trying to do it several times. And there's going to be a give and take there on how far back it goes with each check, because the more checks, the more calculations it has to do. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to my new update active strike location, which is and the last thing that this thing would do is it would now check the aim assist data, and it would do all the aim assist stuff to figure out where, if it had an active target, if the target got its position, and it would start setting it on the strike event. Now, ultimately, I think I want to keep this, but I want to move it out of here. Yeah. What I want is, I think, this thing runs this function and finds an angle. What I need is this function to return more than just an angle. I want it to return basically a struct of information, and I can kind of use that struct to figure out what my actual aim position is, figure out all the stencil data I want, and go from there. Okay. So, first thing is this. Let's go take this guy's homing vector and change it. Okay, so homing vector is just I don't like the name of this thing. This is actually, we want to probably call this something like get, what did I use before? Get target params. Let's see what the target parameters are. So that's the actor, direction, distance, angle. But do I want to grab more than one actor? I probably don't. I probably want to grab the actor, the final effective actor here, and let this handle all of the in-betweens. Final priority. That's the direction and distance. All of these things are basically the same kind of information. And this was the old aim assist data that I used. And this would give me most of what I needed. But let's go into this thing. So what I first want to do is where I'm aiming. One of the problems that I found originally was the update aim by direction. So this is the guy I want. So my current aim direction is this. What I need to do is I want to make sure that if I've got a movement input vector of 0, that I actually still give it some valid input. And that input should probably just be my facing. So I'm going to grab this thing and use this again. So here's my raw aim vector. We'll take this. Here is the actual aim vector. So we'll just call this, aim vector. And then if my aim vector is smaller or is greater than that, we'll set the aim vector. Wait, hold on a second. So, yeah, we don't need to change it there. We just need to do this. The aim vector is smaller than that in terms of length. And basically just saying, do we have a forward vector or not? I want to make this even smaller. We want to be pretty sure that you're not putting the stick in any direction. And if you're not, we'll get his old aim rotation, and that's his new aim vector. Okay, so we'll just do this. I keep figuring if I want direction or vector, and I think direction is probably the more obvious one to my brain. Okay, so this returns an angle. Let's see what I've got going on in this. Because I don't want it to return an angle. I want it to return... Probably what I'll do is I want it to take and update a targeting parameters. Because then I can always come in and read the targeting parameters at any time. So that even if I'm not in the physics loop, I can get the last targeting parameter that I had and use that data. Okay, so let's get let's call it current target. Okay. So let's see. So in here, what I was doing previously was I was updating the targetable creatures by getting the actors and tiles nearby. Now that works out fine. That's like, okay, we're gonna get the tiles within 16 units of my creature, and then kind of figure out all the creatures in those tiles and use those as my valid targets. Because anybody beyond 16 tiles of my character in any direction is too far away, and I don't care about them. The trouble is this could be culled even further because I'm tracking every tile, even tiles that are basically, entirely behind me. So I don't need all of them. And I built a function called getViewTiles. And what this does is it takes the aim vector, or the aim direction, let me just change that again. Takes the aim direction, and my start tile, which is, let's change this guy, rename aim origin. And it would grab tiles nearby based on the view distance, which will still be 16. But what it does, instead of giving me all the tiles, it would give me the tiles that are in front. And that does it by running this function here, which is the direction of the tile, which is my origin. I wonder why it did it this way. As I should just have the tiles origin. Let's try this function and see if it gets what we want. We'll see how many view tiles are in this list. And let's go to where update targetable creatures. So what we want to do is we want to let me copy these out. Get view tiles. So what I need is I need to bring in my aim direction. So this, unfortunately, this thing is actually being calculated at a fixed rate off of the creature right now. Let's see where it is. Now, I think we're going to change this. So this is updating every 1/10 of a second. So what I want to do, update targetable creatures. So the aim assist is doing that. But what I need is I need my raw. Actually, you know what? I can just update it right in here because I do have the aim direction. This is what I want. I want this this current aim direction. There really should be a way to just make this work. This is raw aim location. Get local aim location. Get aim direction. Okay, so here's what we want. We want this. Gate aim vector direction. So I've made this helper. I really don't need to normalize this guy. So this is, oh, this is post and input vector. What else is using this? Nothing's using it right now. So let's just get rid of that. And let's do the check for my input vector being grabbed. Actually, this should probably be here. So here is my aim direction. And if it's if the length of that is not 0, it's fine. If not, I'm going to... I don't know why it does this rotate at a value. Get aim rotation. So this right here, aim rotation, I believe is the angle that comes in. So this could be useful because this is the angle in radians that comes across and is now worked across. So that one's probably okay. It's probably as good as it's gonna get. Okay. So now I have that. I want to grab view tiles. I don't have a reference to the aim handler in here. I mean, I could grab it, but it seems kind of... Let me bring it in here. In the setup. Okay, so now I can grab the aim handler. Get aim vector direction. And my origin is going to be... I mean, typically my aim origin is right at the skill component. So I'm going to start with that. Now eventually I'll have to do something with that because is that all there is to it? View distance. Okay, view distance, we're going to do the M tile distance. So now we're up to 16. Hold on a sec. View tiles. The tile hasn't. It's an aim origin tile. Oh, that's interesting. So that's less work than. Of course, I'll have to check to see if the current tile is null, because then it will fail. Okay, so now that I have the view tiles, and then I need to get all the actors in the view tiles. So here are my view tiles. And what I want to do is I want to print out the targetable actors. Let's do the count. Okay, let's see what I didn't save. Here we go. The aim assist really should come from the aim handler. It really shouldn't be set up in the skill component. Okay, so looks like it's still keeping the old position, which is kind of weird. It should be going forward. Let's first see what this is going to do here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm walking around and this thing is changing its value. The instant I cross paths with this guy will actually change, because I'm changing the guys that are in front of me. So you can imagine there's a line where I'm facing. And once they cross that line, they're no longer in front of me. And it fails. Which is kind of weird because I think, unless I'm wrong, this tile is not in front of me. Maybe it's because it's less than 90. And that's a 90-degree angle. Less than 90. So if it is 90, it should be added. That's interesting. Let's see. So up gives me 2. 1, 0. Okay. So it looks like we've got this part at least is working. So now it's just grabbing tiles in front of me and giving me targets in those tiles. Okay, so the next piece I want to populate this thing with the correct target. Cut this out. So we've got the actors and tiles. We're getting those every 10th of a second. They're being updated. Cool. Now let's go back into where the aim handler is and figure out which ones we need to filter through and how. So in here, active strike location. Okay, update aim by direction, which is what we're looking for. So yeah. So this is based on the creature's input, and I want to know why this is if it's less than that, it's rotated, and it's giving my aim rotation. Why is that failing? Unless it isn't failing and this is just updating, giving me junk data. Let's see. Okay, so it is giving me my aim rotation. All right, now I want to take it from doing this angle thing. Let's comment this guy out, because we want this to no longer use return information. We want to get this aim rotation. Aim direction. That's going to be our new. Oh, actually, this has to be. That's skill aim position. So we do want this to be. This aim direction is going to be normalized along here. I think this is normalized. Yeah, we'll find out in a second here. Actually, let me just check it out. See if it's normalized. Because this might take into account the stick's input, the strength of the input vector. But now I've set this thing up to handle that and use the strike's max distance to change it. So Skill component, global position, and this updates this part actually is what's turning him ultimately. Okay, so it is. So it is resetting it, because my direction is down, and it's resetting it for some reason. Why is it doing that? Because the aim direction should be changing. So the fact that it's not is really weird. So the aim direction should be changing. So my movement input here let me run that one more time, see what's going on with that, because that should, because my forward vectors change each time. Alright, so facing left, and it turns me to the right as if I was always facing right. But my what is get aim rotation even giving me? Okay, so okay, so we got this guy. It's getting aim rotation, but is it actually calling into here and changing my? Because I want to see if my vector input actually, if my movement input is actually doing anything. So movement is invalid. So this is what you would expect. My movement input not with the cursor not down, but then aim direction. I'm still not sure why the aim direction is changed then. Movement input fails here. And why does aim rotation change? You know, I'm wondering if there's some circular logic going on with the skill aim position and the aim rotation. I bet there's something going on here. So does when, okay, so when this puppet gets its update in the server. And this one updates the aiming, calculate aim rotation. And it looks like it's getting the skill aim position, which is actually pretty awful. That is the problem. We're actually grabbing while the strike is active, the skill aim position, and the angle between those two. So that is not good. So we need to get a way to, let me just disable this for now, because by just getting the raw value, we will have a better outcome here at least. I don't have to detangle whatever's going on there, because that's just not going to work. So now, if I'm correct, this should work better now. It should give me better data. Okay, so aim that way, aim that way. Yep, that's what I need. I mean, when there's no inputs, it just defaults to his current facing. Cool. Okay. And what I think is once this thing, well, once it gets done, we'll have to figure exactly how we can get this skill aim position back, because I think we do want the skill aim position's angle eventually in order to take the network rotation into account. Okay, so now I got that working enough. I want to update my params here. So where homing vector is, we want to return, we don't want to return anything actually. We want to update the homing params. Update the rename, we'll call it update target params. Okay. So we need to first adjust our target parameter, and then make sure whenever it updates, we're going to be getting data back from it. That's useful. So the original setup here is it would grab our targets in the angle, which means, take a look at this guy. So it basically filters out the targets that are not in the degrees within our max angle, based off of our aim origin and aim direction. And actually, I made a helper function for this. I'm just going to convert this into the helper function. Where's my helper function? Degrees to target. This is what we want. We're going to use this thing as much as we can because it simplifies a lot of this. So degrees to target. We need to use this, and we're going to put in the target, which is we're going to take our aim origin, aim direction, and then our net actor target, current actor. And then that is our angle degrees. We're gonna have to do all this stuff over and over again. Okay, so if the degrees are within, they're greater than our max angle, don't add it to the list and keep going through the list. And then return the list. So now I have the degrees to target. And then what I do here is after I've got those guys in the angle, I call them by the distance. So if they're out of the max distance, now I could probably do that right in here as well and save some coding time. So let me do that. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave those separate for now, and I can always optimize later. So I call them by distance, and then I've added a temp here. Eventually I'm gonna call them by line of sight, because right now this is being done in the update or in the physics loop, so it can do line of sight checks to these guys. But for right now, I'm not going to bother calling them like that. And I'm probably going to do some optimization to call them by tile visibility before I call them by raycast. Okay, so if I've got nobody in the count, that means there's no valid actors in the parameters. There's earlying out. So I'm going to early out here as well. but I want to make sure that the parameters are the correct values to show that there's nobody in this, nobody in my list. So let me go to, where should I update that thing? I should update it up here. So my current, let's call this params. And I want to say the actor is null. Angled actor. I mean, these are all going to be null because there's no actor there. But what I could do is I could include this as the angle of my in here. I can include the angle that was in, so that I can return it. Let's see, public. Let's do target aim direction. So now that I have these, I can at least set these. Because I don't know what I'm going to do with these other ones. Because eventually I want to use this priority system to be able to adjust the target that's valid. Okay, so then I do a couple more things in here that helps narrow down. This is the closest distance target and then the smallest angle target. This is if there's more than one target in the check of the angle, then I find the one with the smallest distance between the group and I use that as my my primary target. So there's a filtering system down here that can actually, if the target is so close, it will beat in the distance is so much closer than the narrow angle target, it'll actually switch over to the nearer guy. Now, I commented this out for a good reason. I don't know if I want to use that, but there's probably is going to be some priority check that I'll have to put in here that will allow you to, that will switch you automatically to the nearer target. But for now, I don't want to do that. And then we'll go here. We'll say, okay, if everything works out, we've gotten all the way down here. We'll say our actor is valid. It's going to be the final target. We'll find all of these parameters. Okay, and we'll see. I don't think I need really anything. I really don't need much more than that. And I don't want to return anything, so I don't know what I would do with the rest of the parameters. Like, unless I'm comparing parameters of several targets to each other, it's not useful at the moment. But what I want to do is I want to go back to here and figure out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to update target params and pass in all the stuff I need. Okay, so now it has all the things that need to be passed to it, and then figure out what I want to do with those parameters now that I have a target that is the best. I want to start doing stuff with that. I want to first put some sort of real easy like stencil around the guy that is my target. Let's go to where I have targeting cursor here. I don't know if I want to do it this way, but like let me just grab this. Let me grab this for now. Actually, this is where the update stencil thing really would come in, but well, let's just do this then. Okay, so now that I have a valid target, if we'll call this something else. Okay, and then we're gonna see if I've got a valid target for my target params. Actor. If this is valid. Okay, if it's valid, we want to take our aim target stencil dot global position. We'll just throw the global position over this guy. Target params actor. He's got an actor node. And we'll just make sure this thing is valid. Okay, is instance valid? Okay, so if it's valid, we're just gonna move it to his foot position every frame. And then let's call it aim update aim target stencil. Okay. If it's not valid, we need to instantiate one. Or if this stencil exists and this guy is no longer valid, we need to destroy it. So I need to find a decent thing to instantiate. And I think I've got one. I mean, I can just grab this stencil ground. Nope. Stencil aim ground position. Right? That'll work. It's got a charge value on it, which is, I think I used that for something. Okay. Let's see if there is a... That's not bad. I could just use that one too. Let me copy this one for now, so we know that it's different. Now I'm going to instantiate it to on the same frame, because eventually I'm going to have to move this into a different system to instantiate these guys, because this isn't going to work long term. And mostly it's because the instance can be invalid if this is instantiated but added, deferred to the scene. It will potentially run twice. And I eventually want all the stuff to run through my second thread in the scene loader. Okay, so I'm gonna create one of these guys. The attachment node. I don't want to really attach to anything, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it to the projectile manager. And the global position, I want it to be this guy's global position. Okay. And we'll throw that right underneath our aim by direction. We'll update it right in this loop. And so I need to do is I make sure that this thing, if this guy's valid, if this thing is invalid, and this thing is valid, we're gonna destroy it. We're gonna queue free it. I really should just, for now I'm just gonna free it, because if I queue free it could potentially be out of step as well. Okay, so I think that's good. Okay, so I've clearly got some error here. Instant valid. Oh, because this actor, this part is an interface. So this could be invalid, or it could be null. Equals null. I mean, this could be null too, but it won't be because this has to go through first. Close that. Okay. We're back to where we were. Still fires. Okay, so you can see now I've got this thing. It's more of a free form of my movement, but I will get targeting cursors over each one. So let me just make it larger. So you can see where the valid target is going to be, but I still have smooth movement in between these. It doesn't actually turn me to face it or anything like that now, but it'll give you an idea of what the target's going to be. And so hopefully with something like this, you can see that this thing's stuck. Let me move this guy over here. Hopefully it'll give me an easier way to pick targets. Get over there. Oh, he keeps moving back. Okay, let's see if I can move this guy down any. Okay, that's about as far as he's gonna go. So hopefully I can kind of help players decide who the valid target is just by going between these two. And that way you can tell without getting that weird. Because the trouble is whenever you update that aim angle and you force a player to face a direction with their stick, now they get kind of, it feels almost too sticky and they don't have much control over it. So, and then when you use that as the basis of their next move with the stick, it causes more problems because then they're using the snapped version. Okay, so that works fine for now. I'm gonna have to figure out why it wasn't freeing it. So I was adding it here. The target stencil was not valid. I'm not sure why it didn't. Oh, because the parameter didn't update. That's what happened. The parameter needed to update, even though it's not updating here. So, yeah, what this needs to do is it needs to say, all right, if you've got no active skill, then kill the stencil, because it doesn't need to exist because there's no target. I mean, eventually we could make something where you have the target visible, even though when you're not using a skill. But for now, I don't think we want to do that. So what I want to do is I want to figure out if I can pass this guy my strikes. Actually, this should just get called not from this class, because this active strike, where is it called? Update active strike location. Let me go to where this is called. This is called here, and it requires an active strike event to exist. That's a problem. And you can see this is also why I call the update stencil not in the same frame. Like, I could easily just do this and call update aim. What's it called? Update aim target stencil. Let me make it public. And that way, so this update stencil down here has also got problems where I have to clean it up, because it's doing the same set of problems where if this thing can do weird stuff because it doesn't it just instantiates instantly. Okay, so here we go. I need something like this in the other function. So if my strike event is null, we're going to destroy it. So we've got active strike. We don't want any of this stuff. And we're going to take... Wrong guy. The trouble is that this aim stencil keeps getting set, and if you get into a weird state where you're setting it twice for some reason, the old one will get lost and will be there permanently because it won't know to get rid of it. Because its variable has been overwritten. So I'm gonna need to do something about that. And, you know, now's a pretty good time to do it, actually. So let me go take a look into that. I'll be real quick. Right back. Okay, so see how this thing gets spawned. It doesn't have a good way to know anything about the strike that it's kind of related to, if that strike is ended or not. So what I want to do is I want to bind this stencil to the strike, because I believe I've got a function in there for the strikes that allows it to know if it's know when the strike is ended. Like there's an event that gets fired off, and I can use that to kill any stencil that has the strike related. So let me take a look at how I set up these stencils. So here is my stencil. Okay, here's my active strike. And what I want to do, let's see if I've got on strike event destroyed. That's what I want. Let me find where this thing fires from. I believe it fires right from... Okay, so here's the destroy event, but what calls destroy? Okay, so when the skill component sets a new active strike, it destroys the old one. But that's not really good enough, because I want to know if the active strike event goes... Wait, so actually, hold on. Can the new strike come in as null? Is that what I'm seeing? Let's see what this thing... Does it ever get called... Oh, it does. It gets called null all the time. Okay. Great. I'll use this as my bind to then. So we've got a related active strike on strike ended. Implement. Okay, so when the strike is destroyed, we're gonna queue free. And then what we're also gonna do is I wanna unbind to it here too, because I only wanna get called once, and I don't want this thing sitting around in memory for any particular reason. And that means all we need to do now is I don't need to destroy this thing. It will just destroy itself, assuming that I call set data on this. So, assuming it's valid, I'll instantiate it and I will set the data as the strike. So M aim target stencil set data. Wait, why is that set data not working? As stencil. Oh, because it's I've defined it up here as a node. Okay, let's take a look. What are the parameters here? We've got the owner, which is just creature, and then the active strike event here. Data's been set, so I can actually instantiate this thing, instancing deferred. This thing doesn't have to even come in the same frame. And I don't have to call any of these other stuff. Don't have to force kill it. Yeah. Let's take a look, make sure that that thing works. And then I'll do it for the other stencils, because I've seen stencils floating around for other monsters. Okay. It's not appearing. Oh, we got a... Okay, so what did I do wrong here? So if the active strike event equals null, why is that a thing? I don't want to do any of that. Okay, so update target stencil. Actually, I do need some of that. I need to make sure that if the active strike event is null, I don't run any of this stuff, because I don't need to create anything. Okay. And then it goes, if I've got an actor and the stencil's not there, we'll see. Okay, so we've got valid targets. We can end the strike. It's interesting. This, as I move off of this guy, he still is the valid target, and I'm gonna need to change that because it looks like I'm not changing the target to null in the parameters over here. The actor count is not null, and there should be no targets in the aim angle. Okay, so current target params. So it's creating it at the location. Okay, so if the actor params, but if the actor params are null, okay, so there is a problem there. We do need to make sure this thing goes away when the target params are null. Okay, what I want to do first is I want to go take this flow that I've got for the stencil, and I want to make sure it works on the other flow as well. So let's go to the old update stencil. Clear the invalid one. I don't want to do that. I want to spawn the stencil. Figures out which stencil to spawn. It sets the data here. Stencil's null, or it's invalid. Okay. It's weird that that is the way that I wrote that, but... Okay, so... let's do it this way. If the stencil's not equal null... Actually, all I need is this, I need to make sure the instance is valid to update. And if not, we'll spawn a new one. That way we'll save some space. Okay. Locally possessed. So this means that the only stencils you see are the stencils that come from your player, not all the monsters, because in my all my AI uses the same flow, and it simulates input on players, or the same way players do input. Cool. Now I need to figure out that problem, because this stencil for the aim target needs another way to disable itself. It needs data set for the active strike, but it also needs data set for the targeting parameters, because the target goes null, this thing needs to kill itself. I could, in this update loop, handle it here, because I'm updating the global position. But the problem is it's going to turn back on because the active strike is not invalid. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, what I need to do is something on the targeting parameters changing. So we'll make an event here. Let's grab one of these events. Let's find an event I've got somewhere sitting. I can just copy it over. Okay, so what we need is on target param. Let's actually, yeah, on target params changed. And we're gonna pass in our should we pass in our new params and the old params? Let's do this. Let's do the net actor. Let's do the new one. Okay. So whenever this thing changes, we're going to want to send the new target params. Rename this because I want this. And we'll do current target param. Actually, we're just do null because we have no actor here. And then at the end of this, we want to be able to set this and make sure it's actually changed. Ooh, that's tough because we've already called this thing update target params. Let's just do this one. We'll call it private void update target actor. We'll call it new actor. Come on. Okay, so in here, we're gonna get rid of this, and we're gonna get rid of this, and we're gonna say this one is where I'm gonna place the new actor. And I'm gonna get the old cache actor from it. Equals current target params actor. So if my new actor is the same as the old actor, don't do anything. We changed. This has already been updated. We don't need to change anything. And then if not, we're gonna set it down here and we're gonna call that function. And we're gonna give it the new actor, which is really this guy. And so as long as this runs, we'll get our new actor. The real question is, if we've got no active strike and we have no way to update this target params, what's going to happen there? I guess it'll kill the stencil anyway because because the strike's also going to be checked for. Okay. Let's see, where's my set? So I just need to call this thing now. We'll call this the final target. And up here, we'll call this null. Okay. And then we'll go in our aim handler and we'll bind to this thing because that is the best way to grab what we need. Okay, and then since we have this update now, we're gonna take a look at our, where is our stencil thing that we were just looking at? That was this guy, update aim target stencil, and then so if the param changes to none. Okay, we're already polling this though. This is interesting. So the active strike event equals null. We need to kill it anyway. So but it's getting killed because of the set data down here. What do you think about this? Okay. What do we got? Okay. So I really wish I could avoid sending more things to bind to in here, but I don't think that's possible. I think I need to bind to my aim assist, which does not feel right to me. So, It's okay, bud. Yeah, because I'm only updating it as long as this is valid, and I'm not updating when this is valid. Yeah, I think I need to just send this through. Let me go back to the stencil here and see what I can do for set data. So I'm sending the strike. Let's extend this. Okay. So I want to set more data than it does. I want to do the aim assist. So if this thing ever has no active strike, the strike dies, the aim assist gives me an update, which is an invalid target, it will also die. We'll go ahead and say, all right, if the aim assist, we'll just go ahead and bind to its parameters. If my new target is null, we'll kill it too. And we'll unbind. And what I can also do here is, since I have... So I could actually take this... These things don't have an update loop running on them right now, but they easily could. I could put a process loop on this and have it just follow the target anyway. Maybe that's a smarter way to do this. That way I can just take this, and if the data gets set right here, I'm just going to do this. Aim assist. And I don't have to track it anymore other than that. It will just kill itself. And under process, global position, we'll go ahead and actor node global position. Yeah. I mean, all this stuff should be not null before it hits this, but we're gonna have to do some checks there anyway. We'll set the data and we'll change this to the right kind of variable. I'm gonna take this resource string out of here. Targeting stencil res. Aim target stencil. And we don't need to track it anymore. I mean, this can pretty much go away. It has all the data it needs by this time. Actually, no, I still need to grab it, but I can make this local. Okay. Now I need to actually take that and make it a resource. Duplicate. Let me take this sprite is better for what I want. Copy. Aim target position. I want to take this and use that guy instead. Now eventually I'll put like a cross or something on top of that. to make it look like more of a target. Also, I got to be careful with something like that because it will be hidden by some of the dudes I've got. Let me aim, target, stencil. I think -1 is the ground position. And I gotta grab the resource path. Okay, this thing is apparently sticking. It's best if I just cast this. All right, let's see how this works. I think everything in there should work. I'm only worried about this thing. So I'll save this guy. Nope. Something. Update stencil. Oh, it's the regular stencil I busted somehow. Okay, so where did it break? It broke at 312, which is here. And so the active strike is, if the active strike is null, it won't have the stencil name. Okay. Why is it calling update? It doesn't have. Let's see. Looks like I've got a bunch of lack of checks in this thing, which is weird because you'd expect. Because update stencil's called after. In child process, and it shouldn't be getting to that location. Something funky. Creature is null. We'll take a look at that again. It'll probably error out of me again because I'm having a real tough time. Real tough time right now. Creature is locally possessed. Okay. So it isn't this. Something going on here. There's some loop. Stack overflow. Too many. Why is it calling update stencils so much? Okay, I'll figure out what I did. Once it connects again. Come on. It just crashed out. Okay, let me see if I can walk through this. Oh, because it's calling update stencil here and calling update stencil here. The stencil isn't being called on. Doink. Okay, so update stencil is called here, which is a function of kind of like a process function, I guess. Again, I shouldn't be pushing too much stuff to these stencils. They should be reading more information than being pushed information. Okay. Aim handler. Oh, did this thing. I actually don't need this in this class. It's good to know like that's getting fired at least. Okay, there's a stencil, and I moved off, and it paired. Object disposed of. Cannot access a disposed object. So what's happening is the parameters changed, and it's trying to queue free itself even though it's already being disposed, because either this has been hit or this is hit already and it hasn't gotten around to destroying itself. Let me just put that check on both of these things, because you never know when the function gets read. It's like it's spawning a million of these things. Yeah. It's spawning a ton of these, so... So really only, I do need to keep track to make sure there's only one. Dang it, that's why I needed it. I needed to make sure there was only one available. Okay, so now I need to do some work on this, because I need to make sure when this thing gets destroyed, I clear it over here as well, because this thing's gonna get destroyed on not the single frame. So I need to bind to this thing's destruction. So where I've got set data, I need to do more work there. I just want to make sure I'm null or not null. And I want to set the data here, and then I need to bind to its destruction, and then that's the only way I want to make it null again. What do you think about this? Because if it gets set here, it is not null. Okay, so if it's here, it's not null, but it will eventually get null once the thing is removed from memory. Looks like it still stays in memory when the yeah, it's still creating a million versions of these. Okay, so let me see where I've got this thing set. So if the stencil is null, create one and set the data. Let me go ahead and turn off the other prints that I've got going. This one. And then the vector one, which gave me my rotation. Let's see how often this thing prints out. Nothing, because no targets. And it's setting it several times. So it's creating a bunch of these things. It's not moving it to the right position, which is kind of weird. Okay, so if the aim assist is null, return. Global position is the actor node. Why is it not being set? The aim assist should be set here. This is all exposed. Actor node global position should be set here too. I mean, even though this thing is... Actually, what is this? This is not what I want. This is on the aim assist. Okay. I need to make sure everything's saved out. Well, something keeps destroying the processing. But I'm not getting any printouts, so I don't know what is killing it. So, unless the AIM stencil is getting destroyed instantly. But it really calls it once. And if it's calling it once, what is going on there with it? There might be something going on with the stencil too. So, okay, well, I think we're nearing about 2 hours, and I'm going to probably take a little bit more time digging into this, but I'll remind everybody again, I've got the latest build up online. If you guys have some time, play it. Put some feedback in the feedback column there, and I will be doing more and more updates based on people's feedback and getting the game into a more polished state, getting ready for alpha. Again, I'll post the link. There's a link in the description for it, but feel free to visit the itch page. Eventually we'll get us a Steam page started up as well, but for now, you can grab the latest download there. Again, latest is 0.36, should have a new version out maybe a week or two. And thanks again for taking a look and a listen. And if you got any questions about the development process, feel free to leave them comment in the comments below. Later.